Hello, English 101 students. So what I wanted to go over with you today is the upcoming assignment, which is your persuasive writing piece. This, I'll go over, I have a PowerPoint to share with you so we can go over different ways to set up an argument and the purpose of an argument and those kind of things. So let me share the screen with you. Okay. So an argument is simply means that you take a stand on a particular issue. So the issue, first of all, has to be controversial. So there has to be some kind of problem or conflict, or there's usually, well, there always is a current kind of trend uh, on any particular topic. And you're taking one side or the other. So throughout your paper, that's your argument. You're arguing how we need more funding, say, for the foster care system, or you're arguing how we need to improve our, more traffic control on the highways. So more police presence on the streets, those kind of things. So you have, you choose a topic and then you have to have the argument. So when a paper is weak, it usually means that you're not really sure how you feel about a topic. And when you start to research it, you start to waffle back and forth and you become kind of fickle. And then it's very apparent in the writing. So the three elements which come from Aristotle, he was a great thinker in his day. And he came up with the pathos, logos, and ethos, which basically mean your pathos is your heart, your emotions. The logos appeals to the reader's logic, and ethos is the credibility that is apparent in your writing. So the sources that you use, anecdotal personal experiences, all of those lend themselves to our trust in what we're reading. If we don't trust what we're reading, then we're not, the argument is not going to matter to us. So I have a quick video here. I'll try to show it and see. Actually, I'm going to let you look at it because each time I try to do that when I'm recording, it seems like it doesn't show up. It's literally 5 minutes. So we're going to go over these three elements that because your upcoming assignment includes these. So just go on to the next. So areas of focus whenever you're posing an argument would be the logos, ethos, pathos. You want to appeal to a person's sense of morality or emotion, which would be pathos. You want to appeal to their, logical mind. So it should make sense. And ethos would be, you want to make sure that the sources are credible within your paper. And so that the reader will trust what you're saying. And I want to add to that because sometimes when we make mistakes, even a bunch of small mistakes in our writing, you lose trust in your reader. So you want to be careful and present your message in a really polished way, because I mean, you might know what you're talking about, but if you are oftentimes, unfortunately, we write the way we would speak to a friend, but it's not going to work. So it's going to come out clumsy and messy. So you want to make sure that whatever you're presenting is, you want to earn the trust of the reader. So you want to make sure you don't have as few errors as possible. You want to obviously have a thesis. So you need an argument statement, which would be like right in the introduction. And then that should be carried throughout. Your body parts will, include, the meat of your essay. So you have your introduction. And then for the previous assignment, you had 3 body paragraphs. So those would be considered your body parts. And then the closing. And then the APA quotes and formatting, obviously you will need that. grammar and style is important, your evidence, and the tone that you take and the word choice. And the tone goes along with really which words you choose to use in your argument. And so you want to avoid a lot of repetition. You want to use really strong verbs. And I give you a list in this presentation too, so you can, just even borrow those if you want. And then the tone goes along with, the reader should be able to see your passion in your writing and be able to understand what your argument is. Okay. So, an argument is not just information, just, splashed onto a page. It's not informational. It really is a reader taking a stance on an issue and trying to change policy or change people's ideas. Okay. What to hone in on. So here's just a few kind of organizational things to look at. Your introduction should be very captivating. It should be, if it's a long, kind of clumsy, meandering sentence, and if it doesn't make sense, then it's not going to captivate the reader. They won't be interested in even reading what you have to say. So that's why the introduction is really important. It should be clearly stated, and there should be a thesis statement. Your body parts should always have topic sentences. And the topic sentence is, if you look at each body paragraph, is kind of like its own, like a mini essay. It should have like the topic sentence you could then understand as like the thesis statement, so that anything in that paragraph should support your topic sentence. So oftentimes students will go off track. So they either don't have a topic sentence, or if they do have a topic sentence, they'll spend like a sentence or so. They'll have one supporting detail, and then they get off track and they're talking about something else. So you have to make sure, and a way to make sure that you have these clear topic sentences is just to do a quick outline, and just identify the areas that you want to explore in your essay, the areas you're going to be covering, and it's, just do a quick outline. The evidence, again, should be relevant. So if you get off track, and so you're talking about, say the police force needs more funding. So I'm going to talk about that in my second paragraph. Then everything I talk about in that paragraph should relate to funding, how we need to do funding, what's currently, how much funding we receive now, how much we need to ensure safety, those kind of things. So it should all be talking about funding. In the next paragraph, if I want to talk about, the increase in violence on the streets due to lack of police presence, that's what I should be talking about in that paragraph, okay? And all of these body paragraphs and topic sentences should be supportive of the main argument, your thesis statement. And then you should have a meaningful closing. Oftentimes with our closing, we have, we like to use in closing or in conclusion. So you might have seen that on your, in my remarks where I say, don't use that because it weakens your closing. Your closing should be, it's a synthesis of all your ideas come together. So it's kind of like, I like to use the analogy of like fireworks. So the grand finale is just a culmination of everything combined. And so that's how your closing should be. And then you want to have, obviously APA and the grammar is really important. So you should have, and I give you some examples that we'll explore in some other slides in here. Works cited, oops, no, that's okay, that's all right. I meant to change that, but that's supposed to be references. So I'll be posting this up on Canvas. I'll make sure that says references. Works cited goes with MLA. So that's not what you should, your last page should say references. I'll make sure that's fixed. punctuation, grammar, and transitional words or phrases, and rhetorical devices. So you want to make sure you use some nice transitional phrases. Consequently, however, nevertheless. You can even just, print out a list of them so you have them right in front of you, and while you're working on your writing. And then rhetorical devices can include quite a few different strategies for persuading the reader. So you might want to use some parallelism where your sentence, you're giving examples and you give three. So it's kind of, there's a cadence and a rhythm to the way that you present your ideas. Just clear, succinct statements are a type of kind of rhetorical device. Using analogies and comparing something to another thing, which is what I just did with giving you an analogy on the fireworks, comparing it to the closing in your essay. So I just gave you some samples of APA and text citations. This is Paulo Freire. She's wrote The Oppression of the Educated, and published in 1968. So this was a chapter in it. The banking concept of education inhibits, let me move me out of the way, inhibits creative power. And so here you see, I already have his name. So I just needed to put the date. That's my in-text citation. So this is, I can't, trouble saying his name. Freire's, he's French. So I think well, anyway, forget that. Freire's idea, so it needs citation. So Freire is inaccurate in describing how students are prevented in thinking more creatively and abstractly. So this is my idea, so I don't need a citation. So when it's your idea, even though it's based on what you've read, so anything you read, you're going to have your own opinions based on prior experience or firsthand experience that you've had, or things that you've read before. You don't come with a blank slate. You have your own opinions. So, and it gets tricky because sometimes students aren't sure if it's their idea or so that they don't include the in-text citation when actually a paraphrase is when you're looking at the words in the article and you put them into your own words. So in that case, you would need the citation, okay? If it's not your idea, but it's Freire's idea. But when you're saying, when I'm giving kind of an opinion on it, Freire is accurate in describing how students are prevented in thinking more creatively and abstractly, then that's my idea. And what I would do is what the reader would expect is then should be elaboration after that, like an example of what I mean by that. Okay. And so what I'm doing is extending my thinking based on what I've read about in Freire's essay. So it is my idea, but based on, he's like my inspiration based on what he read. So, I mean, what I read and his ideas. And so that's that. Where the banking concept of education inhibits creative power, that's Freire said that. So I took it and just kind of reworked it and paraphrased it. And, that can mean like substituting a word or, reorganizing the structure of the sentence. And then, so I need the in-text citation there. And then another example is, this is Nicholas Carr. These are excellent essays, by the way. I recommend you reading them. Nicholas Carr is Google Making Us Stupid. This is a quote from that essay. Now my concentration often starts adrift after 2 or 3 pages. Keep going down here. I get fidgety and lose the thread, begin looking for something else to do. So I need his name, last name, date. It's a direct quote, so I need the in-text citation. pretty straightforward. So improving writing takes refining. I can't stress enough how important it is to do some pre-writing. So either sketching out an outline, even if something's due, in a couple weeks, you should be, whether it's on a pad of paper and a notebook, or if it's on your computer or your notes even on your phone, just coming up with a preliminary sort of organization for your writing. So just, coming up with the way you want to organize it, your body paragraphs, the topic sentences. So for this upcoming assignment, you'll need to cover logos, pathos, and ethos. So, deciding deciding the content and how you'll organize that, just coming up with like a raw sketch of it, and then returning to it. And before you even type up a polished piece, understanding sources and maybe some quotes that you will be using. I find that students will tend to get confused by their sources. So they read, but then when they try to write, they're either relying too much on the sources, and I can tell it's not their voice. Their voice is lost. It's all just from the article. It's and then you run into problems with that as well. So especially with shorter pieces, you really only need a few quotes. So this is important to know. So back to revising. So when you're revising, each sentence that you write can always be made better. So you need to understand that. So if my assignment's due tomorrow and I'm just going to sit down and just type it up and then send it, well, it's not going to be polished. And chances are you probably aren't going to get the grade you want. And more importantly, whatever you submit should be your best work. So you have to keep going back to your writing. And I think students have a hard time understanding that they want to get something done, get it out. I don't want to look at it again. But that's why you want to start early and just get stuff down, and then return to your notebook and look at it. And then look at your sentences and read them all back to yourself. Make sure they make sense. A lot of times you can read your paper back to yourself, and I've said this before, and you can catch some errors, like missing words, sentences that just don't make sense. And so I just gave an example here. Inmates should be punished for their crimes, but maybe we should be considering ways to rehabilitate them. So that sentence doesn't seem so bad, but it's a bit vague. So when you refine it, you go back to it, and now I'm going to give more information just by saying, in order to decrease the high recidivism in our prison system, that's when inmates return to prison after they've gotten out, we need to provide inmates access to college courses to prepare them for a specialized workforce upon release. So look how much more information I've included. And there's this understanding sometimes too that the reader will just know what you're talking about. And when you're writing, you have to be as precise as possible. So you have to really spell it out, so to speak. So the more precise you are in your language and the more specific you are, the more concise the writing will be, and the richer it will be as well. Topic sentence frailties. The topic sentence is at the beginning of your bodies. I was talked to you before about that. And then it sets the stage for what's to follow. If it's clumsily written, so too will be what follows. So oftentimes I'll come to a paragraph and I see that there's no topic sentence, or the first sentence, which should be very clear and give me an idea of what's going to be in that paragraph. It's not clearly stated. It's either too long, or it doesn't really make sense, or it's a continuation of the paragraph before, where it needs to have its own, it should be unique. It should still be supportive of your thesis, but it should be a different topic, especially for shorter pieces. So topic sentences are very important. And I gave you an example here. I believe we are being kind and on the right path by giving college credits to inmates so they can get a degree and get a job. Now, upon first glance, you think, well, that sounds okay. It's not so bad, but it's a bit too conversational. So we need, when we're discussing something in a paper and it's a more formal kind of a paper, that discussion is going to be more formal. So, and a way to be more formal is being more specific. So one way of ensuring a better outcome for inmates, see the difference, is providing college credits, as they are less apt to return to prison if they can obtain a degree in gainful employment. So you see the difference, it's very specific. With the other one, it's the I believe, you want to get away from that. I think, I believe, it makes me sad, I'm angry. Those are all emotive expressions, and for formal discussions, and you want to forget about that. Those are not, those phrases don't belong in your discussion. You want to speak objectively. You can speak objectively and still get your point across. So go to the next one. Hope you're liking my foliage and photographs here. So fix the ailing line. So here I give another example. Too many times obstacles may prevent you from getting a full picture of the issue. So upon first glance, again, that seems okay, but it's vague. We have the point of view. We want to avoid using the you, that pronoun you, and a full picture of the issue is definitely lacking something. It's again, that's something if you're talking to a friend or, just in conversation, you might say, well, I don't have a full picture of this, so I don't know. That's a kind of like an idiomatic expression. It can mean a number of different things, but you want to be specific in your writing. So if you look at the one below, we have a narrow vision regarding the issue of inequity, as we can't see beyond our own biases and preconceived notions. So now you get a much richer and fuller picture, if I may, of what I'm saying. So it's very specific, okay? When you say too many obstacles prevent us from getting a full picture, it's that kind of statement's not good enough for a formal discussion of your topic. Okay, so that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that in each sentence that you use, in each statement you're including your essay, isn't just a general statement, but it's very specific, and that's how you persuade. And here you go. I have some strong verbs that add punch. So you can just borrow these, or you could Google and look up some verbs, and again, have like transitional phrases, strong verbs, all those things right in front of you before you even start writing. And it's very important to include these things. And then I just took some quotes from, I even took one from me too. So Carl Sandburg, I never made a mistake in grammar, but one in my life. And as soon as I done it, I seen it. I thought that was cute. And then Robert Frost, you can be a little ungrammatical if you come from the right part of the country. That's cute too. If it sounds like writing, I rewrite it. I like that one. Revising is like a staple, a necessity to a writer's diet. And that's me. Yeah. Maybe not as good as the other ones, but I'm not a famous person either. So. And then last but not least, the closing is rarely a restating of ideas. The last words are the final note in a symphony, the final chord. I don't know. I overdid it here. Emotive minus sentimentality, a final measure of the argument, summed up in one swooping moral imperative. The final word is when the moral conviction is unearthed and exposed. And so I guess, I gave you an example. So you could tell this is kind of an older PowerPoint. I gave you an example of a closing. The journalists of Charlie Hebdo were merely the vehicles, the messengers of societal hate and intolerance. Their mission was to capture the absurdity of it all in detestable form and evoke a reaction. In the end, despite threats of physical harm and moral condemnation, armed with pencils and pens, the artists' will to create and deliver triumphed. Their last words are indelibly etched in our minds and on the pages of Charlie Hebdo. So this is actually was a letter that I wrote some years back. There was some terrorism and it was a horrible situation that occurred. Some innocent artists were killed, and this was my letter on it. So as you can see, I don't say in conclusion. This was very short. This was like 300 words or so. This was not like a long essay or anything, but your closing should really capture the whole gist, what you're trying to say. You know, it should, everything that you're writing should have some kind of, like I said, moral imperative. There's something that you want to change in people's minds. You want to get them to rethink an idea. And so the closing is the last thing the person reads. So it's really important. I'll go so far as to say is if you're stuck on your closing and you can't think of how to close, I don't think you're that attached to your topic, and maybe you shouldn't be using that topic. You should feel really strongly about it. As you can tell, I myself feel very strong. When I come to a closing, no matter what I'm writing, it just comes to me. It's not difficult for me at all. But I think because the things that I choose to write about, and this is a great course because you have choice. So this is nice. The things that I choose to write about, I have passion for. Nobody's telling me I have to write about something. So I put everything into my writing, even if it's just a page, if it's 200 words, 300 words. It's like, I don't take it lightly at all. And you shouldn't either. So that's what I'm going to say about that. All right. So I hope that was helpful. I have one more thing to share with you. Again, I'm going to be posting this up on the on Canvas for you, so you can revisit it if you like. And let's see if I can find the other. I just want to go over the assignment quickly. I think it's this one. Yeah. So here it is. This is your next assignment, module 3. Hence the argument. And there's even some ways that you can start. So that's kind of to, spark your passion or ignite you to write something. So blank has been a hotly debated topic in the field of blank. Some people have argued that blank, but I say, so write a 3-paragraph essay explaining why you feel the way you do about this topic. Make conspicuous use of pathos, logos, and ethos, which is what we discussed. So remember, pathos is the heart. You're sort of, in one paragraph, you appeal to someone's emotions. In the next paragraph, you're going to appeal to my intellect, the reader's mind, logic, sense of logic. It has to make sense, your argument, okay? So, so if you're trying to you have to make sure that your sentences make sense too, and that it's concise, okay? And then ethos would be, you want to appeal to my sense of trust. So how would you do that? Maybe you'll use a source, someone that's credible in the area that, of whatever it is you're talking about. So whatever your topic is. And then here's some helpful tips. I'm not going to go through all of them, but let's see. Identify specific author article exemplifies the point of view you want to argue against. So pick your fight with an individual author rather than with a general point of view. So there's where the argument comes into play. You're going to find the counterpoint, someone that disagrees with your stance. Okay, so, and you're going to be arguing why they're not right. Okay. So your introductory paragraph should describe the opposing sides of the debate and conclude with a thesis statement that clearly expresses your point of view. So what you're doing here is providing the counterpoint and then rebuking it and coming up with your stance, which would be your thesis statement. Your body paragraph should highlight the strategy of logos, presenting rational arguments in support of your thesis statement. Your conclusion should focus on the element of pathos using emotional language to evoke the importance of the debate and to enlist your reader's sympathy and support. So some words that might evoke emotion would be, you know, humanity, morality. If you're talking about underfunded, I don't know, something like police, then you could say that it's despicable, the crime on the streets today, something to that effect. So using emotional words that make someone really, you know, you want to touch someone, touch someone's heart somehow. And then you want to use APA style. Oh, I'm sorry. And then your entire essay should be written with professionalism, authoritativeness that conveys a sense of your own credibility as a writer. So everything I've gone over with you, if you follow that, then you should be good to go. You should have no problem with this at all. Use APA style to cite every source. So anything you use, if you're borrowing someone's words, remember, this is just 3 paragraphs. So there might be like a quote or two. That's it. There shouldn't be any more than that. And it should have an in-text citation. And then there's a sample here. So if you want to look at the sample, sometimes that's helpful. You can do that. And we have some there. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing at this point. So I want to say to you that I think it's really important for you to send me a draft of what you've written if you're struggling with this and you're finding it confusing. And this way I can go over it with you, and I can I'll give you some remarks and let you know if you're heading in the right direction. And so, you know, instead of just trying to do it on your own, and hopefully this will help you because I've gone over persuasion and what you need to do for the 3 elements, the ethos, pathos, and logos. But so if you send it to me, then I can just give you some quick remarks and let you know if you're on the right track, or, you know, and we can even do it virtually if you want. So I'll send you a Zoom link, and anytime today is fine, into the evening if you're working and you wanted to meet tonight, just for 10 minutes or so, go over, you can share your essay with me. Probably best if you share it with me first. I can give you remarks and then share the screen and go over it with you. So that's probably the best way to go. But if you're not clear even where to get started and you want to talk to me about it, then let's talk. We could do it virtually. I know it's difficult to try to make sense of, you know, these assignments sometimes when I'm not in person and I can't explain it. So definitely reach out, and I'd much prefer you do that than to have, you know, you just sending whatever you come up with, just kind of a sloppy version of what you think you're supposed to do. So okay, I think that's it. I think I've covered enough. This is pretty long, so hopefully I've been helpful. If you have any questions at all, you want to send me your draft, then please do so. Email me. Okay, take care. Have a nice day today.